Okay, moving on to the next question. We're still at difficulty level 1. We're going to match the functional group to its IR spectrum. Plus, we're also going to circle the area that represents that functional group.
Okay, excuse me.
Let's start with this one.
Okay.
So now you would be given something here where it actually tells you the different values.
So nice.
I'm not just going to throw you into the water. And especially on your exam, you will actually be given something like
that.
That is
true. That is true.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know we're looking at like the 3,000 range. So it would be less than that. Probably one of these. Yeah, I'd say one of these 3. Because it's a little bit less than 3,000. So I'd go with this one. CHSP3 because it like ranges from like 2,800.
That's right.
Yeah?
That is right, but that's not our functional group.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, okay.
That's just like an extra R group that's attached.
Oh, okay.
So you'll notice that, look, all of these pretty much have something within that region, right? Or this one, not so much. But within that region, there's like 3,000 or something like that. I know that's going to be an sp3 hybridized carbon or atom.
What you're saying. Okay.
And that, again, that's just typically like a carbon chain.
Oh, okay.
But that doesn't help us.
Yeah, that's true.
We want to figure out what functional group there is.
Oh.
So I would say what we want to do, we still want to focus on the functional group region, which was greater than 1,400. So I know, okay, that's going to be to the left for each one. So, okay, is there anything else? We've identified what that was. Doesn't help us. Is there anything within that functional group region that could tell us what the actual functional group is?
Oh.
So I'm just looking at that cutoff.
Okay, that makes more sense. Okay, I'm leaning towards the ketone.
Okay.
Just because it's in the range.
Go ahead and circle the area that you're talking about, the peak that you're talking about.
This little guy.
Good.
On the left side of the 1,400.
And you said a ketone.
Yes.
Label it.
Really? Okay. Is it right?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It's not a trick, but yes, it is. So this is going to be a better guide here to be able to understand pretty much the different carbonyl groups, where for all of them, you'll notice the carbonyl portion of it, that's going to be within like 1700s.
Oh.
And I know that this doesn't actually give you an exact number, but it's within that range, right? 1700 is probably roughly there.
Yeah. Okay.
So that does tell me, okay, that is that peak that it shows me. Plus for a ketone, there's only one peak. There's nothing else. There's no other peaks. Like an aldehyde is going to have 2 different signals at these peaks. You know, the carboxylic acid has a distinct feature as well. You know, there's another peak that's going to tell us the OH. Same with an acid chloride, an ester, all the other ones. But the ketone only has that one carbonyl group. Okay. We're not accounting for, and actually this makes sense for the R groups, that this had to be the R group, one of these R groups, because that's within that range of sp3 hybridized.
That totally does make sense.
Good.
Oh, okay,
Good so
that's
far.
helping me already. Okay, that makes sense.
Let's try this one.
We're looking at the range, and we're not really looking at anything on this side because this is like on the fingerprint side, right?
Correct.
So pretty much everything from this side. This one's interesting. Okay.
What's the little peak that you're thinking of?
This guy right here.
Circle it. And then an amine is roughly...
We're looking at like this range, which is pretty high.
It is.
And it would fall under that.
It would, yes. We have 3,000 to 3,500. Yes, that's correct. So I would say an amine. Now we have 2 options, a primary or a secondary. Do you remember the difference?
The amount of peaks.
Good.
Because I want to say this one's also an amine, and like if I were to compare them, I would say this is primary because there's 1 and this is secondary because there's 2, but I don't remember.
Let's circle this one as well because you're right. You're right that these 2 are amines. And it's exactly what you're talking about. It is with the peaks. But I want you to think back, and if we can look at this. This is what type of amine?
That's just the primary amine, right? I can't remember. We look at the R groups.
We look at the R groups.
Secondary.
That's secondary, right. So secondary. Now notice this is highlighted. Just the N connected to the H, or the nitrogen connected to the hydrogen, that tells me that's within this range. There's only 1 hydrogen there, so there's only going to be 1 peak. Okay. When there are 2 hydrogens, which is a primary amine, there's going to be 2 peaks.
Oh, I see.
So for every nitrogen bonded to a hydrogen, we see a peak within that area.
Okay. So this one would be the primary then, because it's bonded to
the
2
here. So primary, really 2 hydrogens. That's what we're looking at. It's the nitrogen connected to a hydrogen. That's why there's 2 peaks. If there's just 1 hydrogen, the secondary amine,
Okay, that makes
then
sense.
there's just 1 peak.
Okay.
So let's label each. Now, the first thing you want to do with these types of questions is look at the functional group region, which we said was greater than 1400.
Yes.
Now, you start to kind of look at what could it possibly be? Like, is there a specific peak feature, and it's not just confusing you and telling you, oh, that's like sp3 hybridized.
Right.
Let's not get tricked by
weird.
that. So whenever we see something that is within its own range, we can then figure out, okay, what type is that?
That makes sense.
What you saw was you're like, it's some sort of amine. Okay, what's the trick to that? Well, secondary, 1 peak, primary, 2 peaks. Okay. Move on.
That helps. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay.
After this video, head over to community.com and join Community for free. Go ahead and try this one.
I know this one is, because I'm used to like seeing the ones around the 3,000 ones because those are like the most distinguishable peaks.
Yes.
So I want to say that has something to do with an alcohol because it is in that range. But then do I have to look at this guy too because that's like pretty strong?
So what was this again? What is that range between?
It's like 3,000. That's pretty close. So.
Are we getting fooled?
Oh, maybe.
The 3,000 range? So let's go back to the ketone. 3,000 range. What was this?
Oh, I see. Yes, you're right. Oh, yeah, we are. It literally is the same. Oh, it's just telling me it's sp3.
sp3 hybridized. That's just an R group.
Oh, okay.
Now I can again look at
that strong one.
Yep.
And that one is a little bit more than 1,500. So, and I have my little options here.
You do. Add another option.
Oh, is it another ketone?
It is another ketone.
Oh.
Let's circle it again.
And is it because it's 1 peak?
Just 1 peak.
Oh, I see.
Yep, it was just the fact that I just have that 1 peak. There's nothing else attached. There's no OH, so I can't state that that's within that area, right, which would have been between here. So it would have been here. There's nothing there. The only main thing that I look at, this really strong peak. And by strong, I mean it's like long.
Long, yeah.
Good. So let's label that and state, okay, it's another ketone.
Okay. And we just did that. That's so silly.
We did.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Now that makes sense.
What about this one?
Okay, I want to say this one's carboxylic acid.
Okay, why?
Because it's broad.
Okay, good.
And I remember when I learned about this, that, because I mean, alcohol can also be broad too.
Good.
But it has like this weird, like,
little peak thing.
Yes. You know what I mean?
Circle the little area that you're talking about. I would actually say it's here. So we want this little group, like this is the broad portion. And by broad, it's really saying like, okay, it's like this was narrow.
Yes.
Right? Broad is, it's kind of chunky, it has that kind of shape to it.
Okay.
Concavity, So this is the little area that we're looking at. What is within this region? Because keep going with your thought. You thought maybe it's between a carboxylic acid or an alcohol.
I was thinking like around this, that would be in the range. But then...
What other peak you think would be important?
This guy?
Good. Let's circle it. What's that probably telling us that there is?
It's a single peak again.
Uh-huh.
And it's around like the 1,700
Good.
mark. So is it another ketone?
So it's within that carbonyl range, right? Whenever we see a strong peak, that's probably roughly 1,700. I know there's some sort of carbonyl group. So then I look at, okay, has to be at least something on here. If there is a carbonyl group, then I know that it's actually not going to be a ketone in this case because there's an additional peak that isn't an sp3 hybridized.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
There's no R group that it's showing me. So because of that, I know the ketone's out. Now I have to figure out, what is this? What is within that range looking at the different carbonyl groups?
Would that, okay, let's see. Because it is 1,700, and then we're looking at like a high, is it an amide? Well, let's see.
Wouldn't be in this case, just because it's broad. Honestly, that's the main giveaway.
Really?
So
okay.
The main giveaway here was that it was broad. So the difference between an alcohol, carboxylic acid, is exactly what you were talking about. It had that sort of strained broadness here and then little peaks going off. That was a carboxylic acid. So what's showing here is this is the carbonyl group. This little broadness is that OH group that we have for carboxylic acid.
Yeah.
So then that's the giveaway.
Oh.
So we know this one would have been carboxylic acid.
Okay. I Interesting. Okay. That's making more sense because I'd always like split it up and like look at this and then this. And it just didn't make sense because I wouldn't be getting
It's
I'd
like
get
piece by piece.
Okay, so
Yeah.
together they form one thing. And
Yes.
Then, okay, that's making way more sense.
You're really just looking at, I know this is just telling me the oxygen connected to the hydrogen. That's here. This is that carbonyl group, carbon double bonded to oxygen.
And
that's here.
there.
And then you piece them together and you know, okay, carboxylic acid.
Okay, that makes so much more sense. Okay, I like that.
What about this last one?
Okay, so this little area right here, this peak
Yes.
is it's high. So it's like the alcohol region. It has like
Good.
an OH bond.
Let's circle it. And what's left?
And then, so alcohol?
It is. Yeah, you're right. There's no trick here. No trick. And that's exactly what we saw. We saw that this was broad.
Okay.
You know, it might not be too intense, you know, or strong because it's not as lower down, you know, like compared to these that we've seen.
Yes.
But it is broad. It is kind of fatter, you know,
Yeah.
as you can think of
Yeah.
it. It's not narrow. So that's really it. That's all you're looking at here because what is this?
That's just telling me that it's SP3, right?
Yes, some sort of R group. That's
okay.
it. Every time you see this sort of funky looking, you know, peak area for all of these, and they're all within that, I'd say 3,000, you know, region, then that's just telling me there's an R group.
Oh, okay.
And then that's it. The main thing I would say that could possibly trick you was the alcohol and carboxylic acid, not remembering which one was which. And then same with the amines.
Yeah, that one, secondary. Because I switched my R's and my H's, and I was like, oh, wait, we're looking at H's. And okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Secondary, it's kind of the opposite of what you're thinking. There's only going to be one. Primary, there's only going to be 2 peaks.
Right, so interesting.
It's like opposite.
Flipped. Okay,
Yes.
Nice, I like it.
Not too bad. We're off to a good start.
that's
We know
helpful.
how to identify everything now.
Oh, yeah, that makes so much more sense.
And we did not use this. That was a trick.
I was like, were we going to? Okay, that's perfect.
And then just in case, just so you know the differences where, okay, if this was an alkyne, there would have been a peak within this region. So I'd say roughly 2,100 to 2,200. And there's nothing there, right? There's nothing here, nothing here. Same, it just keeps going. We would actually have like a sharper peak or more narrow peak that would show there. Same with an alkene.
Okay, yeah.
But no, we don't have that, so that's out.
Oh, perfect.
So if you like this practice problem and want to try another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire study session, click right here.